Facebook is doing funny things again. Okay, here we are. I think we're live. We are live. And there's where the comments are. Okay, great. Yay. Welcome to another edition of SIC Maui Talk Stories with your host, Seychelle. If you are tuning in, write in the comments hello, where you're tuning in from. Actually, I don't think anybody's, there we go. Now we've got some viewers. So let me know that you're here. Say hi. And where you're tuning in from. And I just want to make sure that everything's going well. So I always wait for one or two comments to pop in before I dive into the topic today, which what we're going to talk about today in our talk story is following a training program. So what that means, why that's important, how you would do that as a paddler. And yeah, so again, just somebody say like, hi Seychelle, all good. And if not, I'll just dive in anyways. Because I know a lot of y'all have been reaching out to me and saying like, I love the talk stories. I can't always attend live at 11 Eastern, but I do watch the replays. So I do go back and check the comments on the replays, especially when you tag me. So anytime you're watching this, even if it's not live, leave a comment, leave your question. I will do my best to get back to you. Okay, so following a training program, I'm talking to new paddlers, seasoned paddlers. I'm talking as usual to everyone. This is a common mistake that I see in so many paddlers. Again, new, old, doesn't matter. It's like you go out and you just paddle and you pretty much do the same loop every single time and you try to do it faster every single time you go. And maybe you even buy a GPS and you check your time weekly, and that's your way of getting faster, is just paddling. And there's nothing wrong with that, like especially if you're somebody who's like just in the sport for fitness, just to get out on the water, just to be in nature, like that's beautiful. If you're somebody who's in the sport for probably all of those things, and also because you want to improve in your paddling performance, in your in racing, then, which is I have a feeling that's like most of y'all who are watching this right now. If you're interested in training programs, you're probably interested in improving more than just overall fitness, but like actually speed, skills, stamina for racing. And, you know, if you love the journey of paddling, again, because it connects you to the water, it connects you to nature, but because you love the journey of self-development, self-improvement, pushing your limits, and seeing for the most part today. So, so to be 100% honest, some of y'all maybe heard me say this before, like the slowest way to get faster is to just go out and paddle the same route over and over and over again, trying to do it faster every time. So maybe when you first start out, that works great for a few weeks, maybe in a few months. You're like, wow, I'm paddling and I'm improving and I'm getting faster. And then what happens is inevitably we hit this plateau. And we've fallen in love with the sport, we've fallen in love with paddling, and then we're like, what happened? I can't seem to get any faster, right? I can't see you, but raise your hand if that's you. So then what we start doing is we start buying new equipment, and we're like, yay, I bought a new board, I bought a new paddle, now I'm faster. And that's great. Equipment totally matters. Equipment totally can and does and will make you faster if you're, upgrading to lighter, narrower as you improve boards and paddles. Again, that is you hit a plateau really quickly because you didn't actually get any faster. Your equipment made you faster, right? So how do I actually get faster, right? So I'm all about constantly and consistently improving in all ways, right? So yeah, let's look at equipment. Yeah, let's look at, where and how we're paddling, but let's look at how we're training, and all the different aspects of that. And I'm not going to get into all the different aspects of training, but I'm going to talk about a training program, and what is the right kind of training to actually get faster. Yeah. So, if you see me looking at the side, I'm just following my notes that I wrote for this call today. So, following a training program helps you improve, not only your speed, by improving your aerobic capacity, endurance, thresholds, VO2 maxes, all of those like fancy sports physiology words that really I'm not going to get into or even really use much of those words because I don't think it's necessary to even understand the basics of what we're doing and why we're doing that. And if you're really into it, you can work more in depth with a coach on learning what some of those things mean and what some of those targeted workouts that you're going to be doing to target thresholds, and aerobic capacity, endurance, etc., power. But the reason we follow a training program is because that's actually how you get fitter. That's actually how you get, in one of the aspects of how you get faster is getting fitter. And we can't just train the same way at the same intensity every single time and expect improvements. We have to train at different intensities, different targeted specific intensities for different targeted specific lengths of time and rest periods in order to actually improve these different aspects of fitness physiology, right? So, even if you're not in this for racing, but you are in paddling for fitness, specifically improving your cardiovascular fitness, your aerobic, your oxygen, the amount of oxygen you absorb and use, and you want to do that while you're in a sport, in an activity that you really, really enjoy doing, I think following a training program can be really helpful. So, all right, that's my intro of why. Again, comment, questions. Wait, it says there's 3 comments. Yay, okay, cool, now I see the comments. I just had to scroll down. Okay, so how do I get faster, Seychelle? That's why we're here. How do I get faster? There's 4 ways that I want to talk about today in terms of training. There's a lot of other things, again, like I have a no stone unturned approach to not just how we're training, but how we're recovering, how we're nourishing, how we're fueling, how we're taking care of all the other aspects of our lifestyle that fit in. But let's just talk about training. So the 4 ways I want to talk about today: improve technique, improve skills, improve fitness, improve strength. Right? So technique, skills, fitness, strength. It's not just your fitness. It's not just your strength. The technique and the skills are a huge part of that as well. And I can actually get faster by just improving one of those things. And if I work on improving all of them, that's when I really start to see those shifts in my performance. So a good training program is going to spend time in each of those categories. And there's different types of sessions that you would do that would be specific to each one of those. And mostly that's on the water training. And I love to incorporate some off the water land based training as well. And I'll explain why that's important. So, first, technique. I love talking about technique. I love working on technique. One of my favorite training sessions to do are the technical training sessions. And I really don't think no matter how good of a paddler you are, you're ever done working on your technique and you're ever done improving your overall paddling ability by improving on your technique, right, and your speed. So if you haven't already worked with a coach specifically on technique, attending clinics, I definitely recommend attending clinics, regularly, not just once, and think, oh, I got it all, right? And work with different coaches. Different coaches teach things differently, and you might pick different things up from different coaches that you didn't from one to another. I have some clinics coming up at Carolina Cup and private lessons. You can also work private one-on-one with coaches to work specifically on your paddling. That works better, especially when you're a more advanced paddler and intermediate to advanced. And you can book on my website online if you're local or coming to visit locally in Melbourne Beach. I do lessons. So definitely get some guidance on your technical paddling, and then in terms of how do I incorporate and practice that, right? Practice your technique. Not just in like every time I go out, I'm thinking about my technique while I'm paddling. I'm talking about specific workout sessions that are targeting technical paddling and drills. I'm a huge fan of drills. So depending on how many days a week you paddle is how often I recommend that you focus your training on technical paddling. So the drills that I give basically break down the different aspects of the stroke and work on engaging and isolating and activating the different parts of your body to feel how you put that all together. Paddling is really complex, full body movement. So if you only paddle, say 1 to 3 times a week, then what I would, let me start. If you paddle several days a week, if you paddle more than 3 times a week, then I would spend one day, say 4 to 6 times a week, I would spend one entire day just focusing on technical paddling and drills. If you are paddling only 1 to 3 times a week, I would say spend 10 to 15 minutes at the beginning of each paddle before you start your workout working on drills and technique. That's how I would write that in for you. If you don't know what drills to work on, go to a clinic. Come to my clinic in Wrightsville in a couple weeks. So that's a little blip on technique. If there's any questions, again, put them in the comments, and I will answer those live and or whenever you put them in there. So the second way you can improve is on your skills. Okay, so are you the person that's like a, relatively fast paddler and you do pretty well in a race until you get to the buoy? And then it's like slow down, full stop, back paddle, get flustered, fall in. Next thing you know, you're 200 meters behind where you were in the pack that you were in because of the buoy turns, right? So, skills. They can make or break you, especially in racing. And, or how about this one? You totally kill it in the flat water. You're fast. You have great fitness, endurance, And then you sign up for a race like the Carolina Cup or the Key West Classic, and you're like, yes, long distance, I'm going to be great at this. And then there's that ocean leg. And you spend so much time in the water on the ocean leg that by the time you get to the backside of the course, there's no way you're going to make it all up, right? So, skills, skills are important to work on consistently, right? So pivot turns, footwork, downwinding, drafting, upwind and sidewind paddling, paddle steering, foot steering, surfing, wake riding, all of these aspects and skills that are going to help you be a better, board maneuverer, paddler in all different kinds of conditions and races. And even if you just paddle on flat water, rivers, lakes, there's still buoy turns, there's still drafting, there's still wind, right? There's still legs of the race where if you're not good at steering your board, you're stuck paddling on one side forever and ever and ever and ever. And that doesn't have to be so. So, yeah. So I would spend, again, if you paddle several days a week, vary up your conditions. If you can once a week, get out into those conditions that you really need to work on, and work on your footwork. If you paddle several days a week, spend one day. If you don't, just go out as much as you can, and or just make it a point to work on your skills, your footwork, your drafting, your pivot turns. What were all the other ones that I said? Here, I have them written down. Upwind and sidewind paddling, steering, maneuvering, surfing, right? So one of the great benefits of having a training program written for you, you can write your own, and that I'm giving you a lot of information to be able to do so, but having one written for you, or even if you're writing your own, is like have your coach write in there specifically, spend this time working on these skills, right? Do this session working on these skills, and talk to them about, okay, here's what I need. I really need to work on my pivot turns. Great. Your coach or yourself should be able to actually write that into your workouts, so that you're doing it consistently. You're not just like, yeah, one day I went to the beach and I went surfing and I worked on surfing my race board. It's like you have to keep doing it. It doesn't just happen in one session. You can't just do one session focused on turns. Like, you should do turns. If you're working on turns every single session, just throw in a few turns. Practice until it feels natural, and then keep practicing your skills, because it's going to make you a better paddler. All right. Fitness, right? How do I improve overall fitness? All right. So raise your hand if you do interval training. You've done interval training, and you know what interval training is. And if you don't, it's basically kind of like what I was saying a few minutes ago. You're training not just going out and paddling at that same intensity, often as hard as you can, for a certain length of distance or time. It is you're training at different specific targeted intensity levels for specific targeted lengths of time, and then resting for specific lengths of time in between that paddling intensity. So interval training is popular in every cardiovascular sport: biking, running, swimming, and of course paddling. So because it works, like back to the beginning of our conversation, when you just do the same thing at the same intensity over and over and over again, you're just going to hit a plateau. And or especially if you are doing that same intensity and it's like a really high intensity and it's like as fast as you can every single time you go out, you're going to start running into some symptoms of adrenal fatigue, overtraining, and some chronic training issues that are actually going to start to decrease your performance and your output. We're not meant to go as hard as we can all the time. And really the bulk of our training, 60 to 75, and depending on where you are in your training cycle, I'm going to talk about periodization in a second, sometimes even more of your training than that is at this base aerobic base, aerobic endurance level. Aerobic meaning I'm using oxygen. I'm not going to, said I wasn't going to get into that. So the base level meaning low and slow, like the go all day. Pace. So, right. So periodizing, and then we want to periodize our training programs, meaning that there's certain times in my training program for a certain amount of weeks where I'm doing mostly base work. And then there's certain times where I am increasing intensity and working on things, not just like aerobic base endurance, but on aerobic thresholds and anaerobic thresholds and aerobic and anaerobic power. So speed, acceleration, right? I actually don't work on those things all the time. I work on them when I need to at certain times in my training program. So, yeah, we're not meant to go hard all the time. And it's going to decrease our ability to recover, to actually put output. And, yeah, there's a lot more that goes into like the recovery aspect of it, of course, our nutrition, how we're nourishing and how we're fueling our body, how we're sleeping, what other, stress management we have. Because really exercise is stress on your body. And it's only beneficial when we exercise for the right amount of time and then recover for the right amount of time. And if we have an imbalance of I'm exercising too much for the amount that I'm recovering, I'm going to run into overtraining issues. So, yeah. This talk, I won't be going into so much of the lifestyle, nutrition, sleep, recovery aspects of training, but just sort of trying to give you a idea of why we do the bulk of our training at those lower levels. That's one of the reasons. There's so many. So, yeah. So interval training, that's how the bulk of the programs that I write, and really that all of the coaches that I've ever worked with, how they write their training programs. And because it works. So, yeah. So the last way that you can improve your overall speed and performance in paddling is through improving your strength. And I'm a big fan of having strength training be a component of your consistent training program. And I know there's a lot of paddlers that say, I just paddle because I don't love working out indoors. I don't love going to the gym. And I get that, and I respect that, and, you do you. I am, however, going to go into why I believe it's important if you are really committed to improvement and a more of a no stone unturned approach to training. And the other thing is you can do strength training outside, outdoors. You don't have to go into a gym. It's just that land-based training, for the most part, I do some land-based training on unstable platforms to work on improving balance, and then I do a lot more targeted exercises specifically for paddlers on stable platforms, because what you're able to do more easily on a stable platform is to feel and internalize and engage properly. So especially if we are used to doing something the same way over and over and over again when we've been paddling, and we're working on improving that or adjusting which muscles and which areas of our body are being overworked, if I'm trying to correct imbalances in the way I paddle, and also if I'm really not quite stable on my board and my body automatically, even if I am super stable, whether we realize it or not, our body automatically starts stabilizing on our board. And Paddling's already a really complex movement. We're also stabilizing at the same time. So again, when I'm trying to target specific areas, and especially when I'm trying to change or strengthen or adjust or rebalance, doing some of that work, some of those activations on a stable platform where I can actually just focus on that and not focus on all of the other things happening when I'm on the water. So yes, you can get stronger just by paddling, and you can get even more stronger and see even more improvement by doing strength training on land. So there's, there's targeted exercises that are great specific for paddling muscles, and then a lot of like doing full body complex movements like paddling, some of the old faithful ones like squats, like you would do for any sport, are really great for paddlers too, because and core exercises, because it's so much about our core, meaning our whole entire trunk. I know you can't see, but our whole entire trunk and our lower legs actually, prioritizing over the upper body and doing more of the stability work for the upper body and the stability work for the core. Anyway, strength training, and as you get older, it's really important to do some weight bearing exercises, and not just do cardio. So if I was only going to do one strength exercise, which would give us the best return? Kettlebells, pull-ups. Oh, it's such a great and really hard question, because really, why would you just do one strength exercise? So let me think. Pull-ups are amazing when you do them properly. Kettlebells do a lot of different exercises with one, what do you call this? Apparatus. So I love kettlebells. Gosh, if you were only going to do one, it would have to be like a core stability, a rotational stability, like probably some planks with, hip taps, where I'm actually having to stabilize and take one arm away, and not have my body be going from side to side, right? Core stability, and that's actually anti-rotational, but it helps build up the strength in your rotation of your core, which is really important for paddlers. I would say those are some of the most important exercises. And then, of course, I love all sorts of squats. I hope that answers that one. Ingrid, it's a nice job explaining. I wish you were my coach. I could be your coach. I do SUP coaching. So my website is SeychellesSUP.com, and that's also my Facebook page. And that's pretty much everything that I have to share with y'all today. So if you have any more questions about, the different aspects of training programs specific to paddling, and why and how, really how you would put that together depends on how often you can paddle. And I'm going to leave that up to you, unless you are working specifically with a coach, and then, they'll work with you on that, and why that's important. So, yeah, I would love to be on the podcast. That sounds great. I want to say thank you so much to SIC Maui, again, for giving us this platform to share all this great information. And, thank you to you all for tuning in, for asking questions, for being awesome, for, there's something real special about paddle people, people that love the water and love moving their body in this way. And, yeah. So, thank you. I already said how you can reach me on my website, on Facebook, Seychelles SUP, on Instagram. And yeah, I'm here anytime you want to reach out, comment, DM. See you at a race sometime. Carolina Cup will be the next one. And yeah, thanks so much. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.